afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final and first GA for a lot of you. So we're going to start calling the meeting to order at 3 p.m. on May 8th. Go right to roll call. Senator Zates. Here. Senator Boyle. Here. Senator Seagat. Senator Gasper. Senator Glynn. Here. Senator Goggins. Here. Senator Borneo. Here. Senator Killian. Here. Senator Matson. Senator Meehan. Here. Senator Nuri. Here. Senator Oscar. Here. Senator Pages. Here. Senator Peeves. Senator Perez. Senator Saney. Here. Senator Sue. Here. Senator Sue. Here. Senator Slutty. Here. Senator Tech Marble. Here. Senator Tamara. Senator Tam. Here. Senator Zip. Here. Chair Martins. Here. Chair Patel. Here. Chair Zona. Here. Vice Speaker Patel. Here. Excellent. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Exec ordering Senate Order Number SEA 2019-S001 and the Senator of the Year Award.
Excellent. So the Senator of the Year Award is going to go the last thing after internal elections. And SEA 2019-S is going to be the third item, but it'll be right below 2019-S004.
Motion to remove justice nominations from new business.
There's also a motion to remove the justice nominations from new business. There's a second. All those in favor of removing that item on the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Awesome. Removing that. That will go, which means the first item of new business will be 2019-S003. Is there a motion to approve the amendment? All right, is there a second? Second. All in favor of approving the agenda as it is now, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent. Motion to approve the old minutes. Is there a second? All in favor of approving the old minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Awesome. Any discretionary account expenses at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee action, starting with CCA.
I just want to say thank you guys all for helping with Mental Health Week. It was really, really successful. People showed up to events and they seemed to really love it. So I really appreciate everyone's help. That's all I have to report.
Excellent. And budget and finance.
I have nothing to report.
Awesome. SEOC.
Any bills to talk about today? Talk report.
Cool. You can actually distribute that if you want. Just start the agenda again. Excellent. Moving on to officer reports, president report.
We had a discussion with the Chancellor about the MBTA subsidy. As most of you are aware, Trustee Freed and I tried to have her send it back for consideration. She has decided to move forward with the MBTA subsidy fee. So that will be on your bill next year. I have nothing else to report.
Excellent. Vice President report.
I just want to thank the members that were at the day of service and to remind you of the upcoming late night breakfast on May 20th from 9 to 10. That's all to report.
I personally don't have very much to report. I just want to thank you all kind of for sticking through with us for the entirety of the year. I think we've done a lot of great work. And maybe we'll have some more sentiments up during the open forum session. But that's all I have to report. Vice Speaker report.
Hi, everybody. Video is out now. Like and subscribe. There's another one coming out soon. Nothing else to report.
Excellent. And that's your report.
Happy last year, everybody. Nobody said that, so I'll say it. I have committee meetings 2 days after my graduation this year. Obviously we don't have any other GA, so if the report from that, I will make sure that push after so we can let you guys know. And that's all that I have to do. We have a board meeting starting in, like I said, June 19th on the Roman campus. If you guys would like to attend, just let me know. And I'll give you guys more info. But that's all I have to report and it's all on the exams.
Excellent. And Chief Justice report. Go ahead and report. Any senator reports at this time? No? Cool. We have no old business, so we'll rock it straight through to new business. CSR 2019-S003, which is the Cherish Act, presented by Senator Killian.
Point of clarification, on the agenda it says that CRS 2019-S004 is opposed. Is my understanding that CRS 2019-S003 was one opposed?
Apologies, yes. 2019-S003 is the opposed legislation.
Opposed in zero.
Yes. I'll just
So, so CSR 2019-S003, it is a resolution that would lend student government support towards the Cherish Act, which is currently going to State House. It is an act that would return public state funding for higher education back to what it was in 2001, which would add about $580 million to the 29 public higher education schools in Massachusetts. It would also cap tuition and fees for the next 5 years, up until 2024. Basically, I wrote this because I thought with tuition and fees constantly increasing, there needs to be something done, and this is a step in the right direction. I know there is opposition, which I believe multiple people want to talk about, so I will let them talk about the opposition. I think it's just a good first step, and I will welcome any questions.
Any questions for Senator Gilligan? So we're gonna have a chance to take a look at the referendum. Take that page so it doesn't know. Professor John.
I wasn't in steering what it was voted upon, but it was informed by me that the majority of voting steering members did not want this to pass. So I'll let them speak for themselves because I'm not a voting member of steering. But my concerns are, I understand that the President Meehan has endorsed this bill. Is there, and I don't know much about it, so I'm asking you, is there any information on what would happen if inflation and what would happen to our, is the tuition going to completely increase past 5 years because schools aren't going to have the funding that they're going to need as inflation grows? Is there going to be a huge spike in tuition? Is the state going to take care of that gap? Is there any information in that current legislation in the State House?
In the legislation, no. From what I understand of it, there may be a dramatic spike after 5 years to a higher tuition if nothing is done after that. Part of the reason I don't have as much of a concern about that is if the Cherish Act doesn't pass through the State House, then over the 5 years tuition is going to be increasing anyway. So by 5 years from now, it'll still probably be the same tuition that it is, even if this does or doesn't pass.
Any other questions? Senator.
So to address the concern that was raised about tuition prices, and I know that Alex, you and I talked about this briefly before, the concern with freezing tuition prices or tuition and fees as they are right now is the later on jump would be approximately somewhere around the figure 20 to 25% jump. So you've seen the markets don't really respond very well to a massive jump like that. It's much more effective for universities to be able to slowly raise and respond to market demands as they move forward. Additionally, this is essentially a stopgap measure that's trying to be pushed through in order to provide funding to universities until a constitutional amendment, which is also being pushed through the House, is adopted, potentially adopted. That resolution won't actually take place until 2024. It's the millionaires tax, if you will. There's some pretty stiff opposition from community leaders and access to that. So my concern with it is that essentially if we don't pass a constitutional amendment to the Constitution of the Commonwealth, that we are going to be pulling $580 million a year from public institutions of higher education. The institutions that are going to be the most affected by that pulling of funding are going to be institutions like UMass Boston and UMass Dartmouth, which are institutions that are already at risk due to current funding levels. So if we're putting ourselves in a position where we're placing ourselves more at risk, I don't think that's something that we should be supporting as student government.
I do understand that concern. Part of it is if something isn't done, tuition fees are going to increase no matter what. Students are going to have to pay more no matter what. From a marketing point of view, I agree that could be a gamble. 5 years of big spike. However, at the same time, students are going to be saving money over the next 5 years by not having to pay for higher tuition. So my belief is that for the next 5 years, if we can avoid higher tuition and let the tuition become what it is in 5 years from now, that would be better for students now. And I agree it is payoff. We have to gamble whether or not it's going to be bad in 5 years for admissions, but I think it's worth it. As for the colleges that would be most affected, I think at that point it's more of an issue of how the university spends their money.
Senator Bernier?
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, yes, this would be good for students now, but it's also not thinking of students in the future that are gonna have to take all of that, like, all of the aftermath of the fact that the tuition was capped for 5 years, and you're gonna have to deal with a 25% increase, and it's not fair to them. It's better to just allow it to slowly rise. I mean, no one wants to pay more tuition, but it's like, we can't just cap it for 5 years, and 5 years later, students later on are paying way more than we would ever have to pay. So it's like, it'd be good for the students that are going to school now, but horrible for students in the future. And it kind of take the incentive of coming to public school. Because a lot of people go to public school because of the fact that it's prices.
Well, that's where I disagree. I think the tuition that's going to be in 5 years, if this does pass the Sheriff Act, it's going to be roughly the same if Sheriff Act doesn't pass. So, in essence, sure, it might not be such a slow growth, but it's not going to change how much it actually costs. And I think, at that point, it's not an issue of what can we do to help future students. Something else would have to be done about that. It's more of an issue of what can we do to help students now.
Further comment?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So this bill only helps students 5 years. It doesn't help me graduate in 2 weeks. It doesn't help the students that are gonna come into college at the end of this. So let's say, I don't even know what year that would be because I'm bad at math, but, so let's say they're freshmen at that 5-year mark. So their sophomore year, if this act is over, they're going to see such a huge tuition increase and probably higher than what we see, because when you go with a consistent rate, you'd be able to keep up with your funds. Institutions like UMass Boston that already has a budget issue, we're not gonna be able to keep up with our funds. And so if we're not gonna be able to do that, we're gonna have to increase tuition, I would believe, at a higher rate. I mean, I'm not in the budget office, at a higher rate, because we're gonna have to go back and fix some of those debts that we have skewed over a long period of time. And we have to pay for a 200 to 300 million project for the science center that has to be demolished, that the state is only giving us $78 million for, and we have to come up with the rest of it. So I think asking for a tuition fee that would only help 5-year students, so everybody in this room would be able to do that because we're all at least freshmen, but also it has been proven that an undergraduate degree that is supposed to be 4 years is now proven to be 5 to 6, so this isn't even gonna help most students. It's gonna actually turn around on the back end, like, yeah, it will save them some money and they're only whatever tuition is now, but come at the 5-year mark, they're gonna be whacked with a God knows what increase in fee, and I don't think the state's gonna help it, especially at the rate that they're going when they decrease money every year.
Okay.
For the sake of time, maybe 3 more. So I saw Chair Patel and then Trustee Tariq. Yeah, order.
What's the, what's this looking like in the next day? What are the, just curious, like, numbers wise, obviously the police school goes to vote probably before this year, to the next fiscal year. What is kind of, do you know, I'm just curious, because obviously this is greater than us voting here.
Like support-wise?
Yes.
I know the bill itself is co-sponsored by over 100 legislators, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what the entire opinion is. From what I hear, it might be on the negative side, but I do know that it has a lot of co-sponsors.
So it's under my impression that this is also increasing the funding that is given to these public universities. I would say that a lot of the tuition fees increasing is to pay for the gap because the state is paying less and less. So I think it is not likely that if the amount that we were now given, because we already are not given enough by the state, if that increased, I don't think that UMass Boston would be forced to increase the tuition at the same rate that they would be if the state was cutting their funding. An increase in funding shouldn't also lead to an increase in tuition costs for students. If it was just a funding bill, that should cap our tuition. So I think that they're focusing on the tuition cap, saying, it's going to increase at the same rate as it is now, but that tuition increase is mostly due to the fact that we're unfunded. If we increase funding, I don't see where that tuition needs to come into play.
Trustee Tariq.
I agree with the intent of this act.
public higher education should be affordable at any cost. However, it just makes me like, listening to like everybody, just made me think about the issue that we were having on our campus with the parking, right? You don't increase parking for years, and then all of a sudden you have to increase it. You run into so many different kinds of issues, right? I mean, people are pissed, but like, people can't afford it either. So people probably would have been able to afford it if it was being increased yearly or like every other year. So it just makes me want to think about that issue, and this issue obviously is like much, much larger compared to the parking issue, but it just like made me want to think about that what will be the implications when the system has to increase its fee by, I don't know how like bad I'm not, again, sorry, but that 40% or whatever the number is.
I can't be sure of that. Again, my main thing about this is it's a good first step at least. There's nothing else being done. Or at least a little is being, there are other things, but this is one of the first major things that's actually being put forward.
Awesome. Before we kind of do like a last remarks and then also kind of go through a vote session, I'll explain this a little bit more. Because it was actually opposed in steering, it requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass within our session, which means that we can do it by voice. We can try it by voice, it might be difficult, but if someone wants to motion to do it by a ballot or by roll call, Bill, very quick. Okay, cool. Any like last like 30-second remarks?
I guess basically this is just a resolution saying we support it. If it passes in the state House or if it fails, this just says that we support it. I think, again, it's a good first step and more can be done. I'm not saying this is the perfect solution, but I think something has to be done, and I think this is the deal.
Thank you. All right. We have a motion to vote by secret ballot. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of motion to vote by a secret ballot, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent. Okay, so distribute. And I'll distribute. Again, no names on it. Yes or no. If you're abstaining from the vote, again, please hold on to it and give it back to us blank. Are all votes blank? Yes. So while those are being counted, we can actually move into the next item, which is not opposed as the agenda actually says. And it is CSR 2019-S004, presented by Senator Stubbs.
Well, again, everybody, I'll try to keep it pretty short and sweet. You have the resolution before you. I can answer any questions on it. Essentially, all this resolution does is it calls for the administration to move the Department of Veterans Affairs out underneath the Division of Enrollment Management and under the Division of Student Affairs. This comes from discussions with student veterans on campus and feeling like there's not quite enough services offered to them. They feel like their concerns would be better addressed by moving them under a division that has a directorate that specifically addresses student affairs and services that students need. That's not to say that the Department of Veterans Affairs isn't doing a great job where it is. It's just that veterans feel they can be better served by moving it under the same division under which the Student Vet Center lies and the same division under which Student Multicultural Affairs resides. Happy to answer any questions, comments, or concerns.
Any questions for Senator Suddy?
Have you spoken with the Department of Enrollment Management?
I have not spoken to them directly on this issue. I forwarded them a copy of the resolution and invited them to attend. I did speak with the Department of Student Affairs on it. I can tell you that this resolution arises out of a conversation that was had with the Division of Enrollment Management, but a conversation that I had directly with them addressing this specific resolution.
Vice Chancellor behind you.
Yeah, I did. I didn't see it before.
So hello everybody, my name is Lisa Johnson, I'm the Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management. And I thought that what I would do is just tell you all a little bit about the Office of Veterans Affairs, why it's been for 15 years in the Division of Enrollment Management, and just some things about what they do. The office is really a compliance office. It works very closely with financial aid, admissions, other offices within the division. So we are able to provide veterans with this integrated services right from the get-go. We not only award everything from the welcome home fee, the tuition fee, tuition assistance, our veterans get the full line of support money-wise, plus we add another $8 million to support our veterans to make up the gap from what they would get from the federal government. Now, in addition to that, being in enrollment management, we have lots of experience with events. We have lots of experience. We have our own events person. We are able to do a phenomenal Veterans Day celebration. And it's just been recently that I have been made aware through students of some of the gaps that students may be feeling. And as a result of it, I have offered students a mechanism to come and work with us more closely. And in fact, we are co-sponsoring a big event, an end-of-the-year celebration for veterans at the end of this year as one of our beginning collaborations so that we can work more closely with students. I wanted you to know that the Division of Enrollment Management also supports veterans through operating funds that we have in our division that are above and beyond what the actual office gets. So if the office were moved, those funds would not go with the office. I honestly do not think, and I am saying this genuinely, I am here in this job as a person who has a student affairs background. If I felt that the office would be better served outside of enrollment management, I would be the first person to say, move it. Because we're all here about our veterans. We love our student veterans. We're trying to get more. We just spent over $50,000 this year to buy the Salesforce Marketing Cloud so we can do more recruitment in a very strategic way to get more veterans to this campus. So I know my time is out. I could talk about this topic for a long time. I have loads of respect for the students from the Student Veterans Center, and I admire your efforts to try to get veterans better service. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we'll probably take like 2 questions on this, because we have to keep moving, we have to do the votes before 4 o'clock.
Just a question for Senator Suddy and possibly other veterans in the room could testify to that as well, is how, as I feel that more light was shed from that perspective, would you be able to shed more light on the reasoning that you would call for to go toward the Office of Student Affairs, or to be under?
Sure. So our reasoning comes from, again, a conversation that we had with Lisa Johnson and her staff, where we determined that the Division of Enrollment Management, its job, its goal, its mission, is to enroll students and retain those students. And we felt that through the services we've experienced as veterans at this campus, that is largely the focus of Veterans Affairs currently, because that is the division that is aligned under. Our goal has been for the past year, approximately 9.5 months, is to improve services for veterans and then gain access to more services for veterans. We feel that this mission that the Student Vet Center has taken on can also be a mission of Veterans Affairs, and that in order to align those 2 missions together, it's better to have them within the same division, so that we have the exact same chain of command, which veterans love our chain of commands, and we also love our mission statements. So we compare the mission statements of the 2 divisions, Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, to determine which division best served the goals of student veterans on this campus, which is to ensure service to those veterans, and we determine Student Affairs more accurately represents that mission for us.
One more question.
It says that UMass Boston has claimed to support services that it doesn't, essentially, in the bill. I'm curious what specifically, if you have any specifics on what services it's saying that it offers that it doesn't.
Absolutely. So there was an article that came out in the paper which kind of started me working on this project. It came out in the student paper a few weeks ago, and I wish I brought that with me so I could highlight some of that. But essentially, the university uses a service called Military Friendly Schools. It is a private company that delivers military-friendly ratings to institutions of higher education and corporate entities. We pulled that report from Military Friendly and ran through the claims that UMass Boston makes in that database, just as was done in the article that came out in the paper, to determine if the claims made by that article were actually factual. We found that most of them actually were. I can't give you a specific, I wish I brought my notes with me because I could do that for you. But essentially, we're not trying to knock UMass Boston down off of that list. What we're trying to do is ensure that UMass Boston actually lives up to that reputation that it wants to have as a military-friendly school. We're trying to find an avenue that best enables us to do that. And we feel that this is
Cool. All right, no more questions, just because we kind of have to keep it rolling along. The motion to move to a vote, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of moving to a vote, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now moving to a vote on bill number CSR 2019-S004. All those in favor of approving this legislation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. That was, after reading the results of the secret ballot, it was opposed.
Can I have one thing? So, just with some of the reactions to this passing of this resolution for the Veterans Affairs, just for some people to understand, it is a resolution asking the administration to. The administration is not bound by what we just passed. We are just asking the administration to do that. Again, this is just from student government. The administration has no, this does not require administration to do this. It is on them. It is their decision. We as student government voted to support that. So just to reiterate, it is not something that the administration is bound by.
Cool. We're moving on to SCA 2019-S001. This has a 10-minute hard deadline. Push, you have like 2 minutes to present, and then we'll do like 6 minutes of questions and like 2 minutes of voting. And I'll cut it off, and I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to do what I got to do. You know what I mean?
So I apologize ahead of time that this is going to be rushed. For those of you that know anything about the space use contract, the proposed space use contract, I just wanted you to take that and throw it out of your mind. we are not discussing the proposed space use contract. After the sit-in yesterday and after a meeting last night, very productive, both of those, we were able to work with other student leaders, and I want to say again, I really do appreciate the input that other students and other student leaders had throughout this entire process. Without that, we wouldn't be able to work on a lot of this without their input. So what's before you, and from last night's meeting, I believe that it was what we had proposed. Thank you to Chief Justice Lane for kind of coming up with this proposal. But the students who were in that meeting seemed to support this sort of legislation. Essentially, it's asking that we establish community norms. So the current contract that all RSOs sign, that when they get a space, on that contract lists general rules and responsibilities for the space. Essentially, what we did was we looked at that and just took it and said, okay, we're going to establish community norms. And in this, some of the community norms is, no running, no sports equipment, no smoking, drinking, and that's a footnote to that. No intentional destruction of property and abide by all provisions of code of conduct. That's just kind of the brief summary points from that office contract that everyone signs. And what this also does calls that every club and center post these community norms, so they'd be printed out, and these community norms would be easily visible in their space. And then student government would also post these community norms posters around the common areas on the third floor. And then again, when in talks with the space use contract, there was this complaint form. I believe, the conversation we had about the complaint form, and from last night, that is something that everyone thinks is a good idea to still have, and we want to continue that, and that is in this legislation. And the complaint form would be found out, we would be involved. If a student felt the need that he or she wanted to submit a complaint, they can. But the complaints would essentially be reviewed as we get them, and if they don't require any action, then that's great, but if they do require some action, then the SCOC chair and the judicial branch will look at it, and then if it needs to get bumped up to, students or whatever the case may be, it'll go like that. But essentially, after each semester, we would review the complaints, convene a meeting with other clubs and centers and their students and leadership, and essentially review everything and see what's going on, and with what complaints we've received, do we want to establish some sort of consequences, and what would those be? The biggest reasons why there was a lot of there's not support for the proposed space use contract because there was a binding aspect towards it and the consequences that came from it. So after discussing last night, it seemed that we established these community norms is something that can help alleviate a lot of the issues we're seeing, and really encouraging student leaders to push the usage of these community norms.
Awesome, thank you. All right, now moving on to questions. We'll probably take another 8 or so minutes to do this. I think we can probably manage that. We'll do senator pages and then President Trump.
So it says after each semester, the SCOC chair and committee will review any complaints. Why did you guys choose to do it at the end of every semester versus addressing complaints like that week or
so,
that month?
I can understand your question. So essentially, it's any complaints that don't need any action, and we review it, see what those complaints are. So as complaints come in, we'll review them, and the next bullet point says that if there are any complaints that warrant further conversation and some sort of investigation, then we will do so. It's just that any complaints that we get, we'll review at the end of each semester, convene a meeting with others, clubs and centers and their students, and just see, okay, this is what we've been getting. Has the issues been resolved? And if not, how do we want to move forward with some sort of consequences? So yeah, all that.
President Trump.
I would just like to echo what Chair Patel said. This has been a long process, and I would like to thank all of the club and center members that are here and that have been part of the conversation to discuss this. So this has definitely been a last night, and I was not to sit in, but it was my understanding that this was an agreement of those there. And I now lost my train of thought. Never mind. That's it.
Any other questions? And no more questions from senators. We can open up to the audience a little bit. Questions, comments? Okay.
So if, I don't know about the legislation, but if someone were to enter the room without you would be involved in count, I thought that was number like 12, I think.
So when we were talking about the pros and cons, the space contract, that was initially asked by the centers. The center programs had proposed this as in people who are in the space program registered and you be involved, but then after a meeting 2 weeks ago, they didn't want that, so we scrapped that. But again, nothing from the space use contract is in this, and we're not adopting anything about the proposed space.
Thank you. So there will be no, ramifications if someone enters the room.
No, so the idea was that if we, senators thought that if we are requiring everyone who comes to our space be a registered member be involved, then it will hinder them from recruiting more students and having students just coming to visit the center and see what they're all about.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and just to clarify, like the issue was that UMass Boston right now doesn't even have the means to track who goes in and out of the space anyway, so it would have been unrealistic to have it on the legislation.
The initial idea was just like a thing that was just like longevity, so people can just tap in and we see how frequent, at what times students are coming in, and it was just, if we ever got, tapped systems to say, oh, we're seeing this many students at this time, it was just kind of, that's the idea, but again, they didn't want that, so we took that out, but again, that's not here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now, audience time, anyone have any input?
Motion to vote.
Motion move to a vote. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of moving to a vote, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Awesome. We're now moving to a vote on Senate Order SEA 2019-S001. All those in favor of approving this legislation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're right on time. Yeah, we move on. Awesome. So, yeah, I guess now it's time to swear in the senators.
No.
Senator of the Year one?
Senator, you were in that.
Okay. And that's on.
Yeah, you got to swear.
You're going to ask the old senators, thank them, and have them step down and seat the new senators.
Thank you, old senators. Yeah, you guys have all done a really great job this year. I know we've dealt with some issues that have been really complex. This space social norms contracts included. It's been really complex, and we've been working on it for about 2 years. So I'm really glad we could actually get everything kind of put together. And yeah, thank you all for doing everything. Good luck to the rest of you that are moving forward in student government. You're welcome to stay seated. You don't have to vacate. And all of the new senators from both sides, you're welcome to kind of filter in, find a seat in front. And
Should we have the new senators from Congress there?
yeah, feedback's but we're doing that.
Folks who are leaving Senate and not staying to move to the edges so that the new folks can filter in, because they're used to voting, and we'd like to kind of see the groups that are voting. So if you are staying, you stay in the middle. If you are new, please take a seat in these middle seats. So if you're a new senator that's getting sworn in the middle seats, that would be great. We don't have to be in any order, it's okay. So you guys can stay there. You're going to stay there for a Is there anybody in the center? Okay. All righty.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so would you like to raise your right hand, please? I state your name.
I, Samantha Zeno,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to fulfill my responsibilities
to fulfill my responsibilities
as a member of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at UMass Boston.
as a member of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at UMass Boston.
Can we do this over again?
Here you go. Did I mess up?
I did. This year. I state your name.
I, Samantha Zeno,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to fulfill my responsibilities
to fulfill my responsibilities
as president of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
as president of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at UMass Boston.
I will do my best to preserve, protect, and promote
I will do my best to preserve, protect, and promote
the ideals of the Constitution
the ideals of the Constitution
of the Undergraduate Student Government Association of the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
Congratulations.
Alex Killian will be sworn in as the vice president. You come on up, Alex.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Alexander Gillian,
Do solemnly swear to fulfill my responsibilities
do solemnly swear to fulfill my responsibilities
as vice president of the Undergraduate Student Government Association
as Vice President of the Undergraduate Student Government Association
at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
I will do my best to preserve, protect, and promote
I will do my best to preserve, protect, and promote
the ideals of the Constitution
the ideals of the Constitution
of the Undergraduate Student Government Association of the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
Congratulations.
Hi, elected members of the Senate, will you please rise if possible and raise your right hand? I state your name. Do solemnly swear to fulfill my responsibilities as a member of the Undergraduate Student Government Association at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I will do my best to preserve, protect, and promote the ideals of the Constitution of the Undergraduate Student Government Association of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Congratulations.
Covering this up.
So, hi, everyone new. You don't have to even listen to me. So we're moving on to internal elections now. I think the general idea, and this will be kind of reiterated when a speaker is elected first, is you should really only have, if you're trying to get elected for a particular position, you should really only have about a minute to be prepared. That way we can just kind of run through those and then have time for a vote afterwards. But that's, again, going to get to where I'm sharing it. Because I am no longer speaker, wow, that's good to say. Vice President Killian is going to be chairing this particular election.
See you.
Yes, you can.
Okay, Paul, thank you. Stephen McLaughlin, thank you for your services here. So we'll now move to the election of a speaker. Are there any nominees? Yes.
Speaker. I accept my nomination.
All right. Are there any other nominees? Seeing none, you will now have 1 minute to explain why you should be elected speaker. And I will get up my time. Yes, okay. 1 second. Oh, great. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Martins, and I hope to be your next speaker of the USG. This past year I served as the Campus and Community Affairs Committee Chair, for which I created an agenda and shared our meetings every other week, which has prepared me well for the role of speaker, where these two responsibilities are an important part of the role. If elected, I will be impartial when chairing meetings and create an environment that supports all opinions and allows everyone in the room to feel comfortable sharing their thoughts. I also plan to help transition senators into their positions smoothly, as well as being with each senator one-on-one to use my experience to support them in completing a project that they're passionate about. Along with this, Speaker McLaughlin and I have been working on a project that I plan to continue next year, which will help set up a student representative from each club and center to be unofficial members of the USG. I'm looking forward to next year with all the time and opportunities we have to make UMass Boston the best it can be, and I hope you vote for me for speaker. Thank you, and I give my best to all the candidates today.
Go ahead, sir. So we'll have to move to it.
Kind of, yeah, we'll be doing voting electronic.
We're going to use electronic voting even though there's an uncontested, that way we have a record of it. So can everybody, hopefully everybody has some type of mobile device with them. A phone, a tablet, something. If you don't, we can find somebody to borrow. And we are going to log on to this website up here. You don't have to put anything before it except for respond.campuslabs.com. And I'd like everybody to sort of let me know if they have any challenges with that. And then when you're in, it's going to ask you to put in the following. Your first name, I'd ask you to put in your full name, your last name, your full name, and the code, 23602.
And just to clarify, it's current senators, not outgoing, the current people that are sitting in Senate seats at this moment in time.
What's that?
From one of the organic resources you're looking for has been on.
So don't put any HTTPS or www, you just put respond.campuslabs.com.
It's going to HTTPS automatically.
If you Google
Just
it,
Google
it
it.
should be the
It's the
first
first link.
the first link.
Sorry, folks, we can't make technology decent even though we try.
So you need to log into the.
If maybe,
Yeah. Great.
Oh, there we go.
if you haven't thought yet, please let us know and Anthony will come and then we are going to start this.
I'm just leasing. Thank you.
23602. Yeah.
So your first name, your last name.
Oh, SRS, that's why.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Depending on your phone, okay? Does anybody else have any issues? Are you all logged in? All of our senators? Okay. Yep, ready, here we go. Please vote. Has everybody voted? Anybody, raise your hand if you have not. Okay, great. Why did it not come back? Right? To the other side. Oh, Michelle, you won by 89%.
But it is already.
Alright, so we're gonna now move on to vice speaker election. So does anyone want to nominate anybody for vice speaker? You can nominate yourself too if you'd like to run your vice speaker.
Senators.
There is a stipend with these positions, just so you know.
You can't vote as a vice speaker? Yeah, no.
You can vote as vice speaker, that's
Yeah, so it's vice speaker.
So can you give a little explanation of what the vice speaker is?
Yeah, vice speaker, that's what George Fowler has done this year. It's not an impartial position unless you're chairing the meeting because the speaker couldn't, so you do get to vote on anything that comes before the Senate. And you are basically just taking minutes of the GAs and the steering meetings, and that's your big overarching responsibility, and then you kind of take it where you want it to go from there.
You watched the latest give your input, right?
Yes. You gotta nominate.
I nominate myself.
Alrighty.
Tell me your name again, full name.
Maurice Roberson.
Anyone else? Yeah, yourself?
Tell me your name, please. Sheree.
I nominate myself. Good.
Tell me your name, please. Rama. What's your last name?
Is that it? Alright, so you guys, all the candidates can come up and stand over here if you'd like, and then each candidate will get a 1 minute speech, and there's
They call for speeches.
Come on now. Yes.
Wait, no.
So Maurice, you may begin. Go ahead.
Okay, so obviously I've just nominated myself for a position that I was unaware of. If I am elected for a position, I will do my absolute best to perform the service for everyone. I will add my input as I see fit and necessary on issues that I feel that are important, and I will strive to be efficient in managing the meetings. And that's about all.
Sorry, Joe.
I'm very serious. I got re-elected, so it's my second time. I feel that I can be a good vice speaker because I think I can take care of minutes pretty easily. I actually talked to Alessandro at our last BNF meeting about running for speaker, and kind of backed out of it till now, but here I am. And I think I can get the job done and do my best. So, hope you vote for me. Thank you.
very qualified for this position. I don't know why I put my hand up, but I guess just put myself out there. I believe I have the capability to make an impact, and if this is my way, then so be it. Thank you.
Everybody, including the candidates, will vote on the following question.
Okay, so you guys can go back and take your seat.
You good?
It should be right on your phone.
That's in the order they spoke on.
Yes, that is in the order they spoke.
Thank you. Somewhere in my phone. So no.
Yeah.
Everybody voting?
Everyone else able to vote?
Anybody that's not voting, raise your hand. Okay, do time, no problem.
If we were giving the
Everybody?
I would say that's my chair, but that's not my speaker anymore.
All right, is everybody voting? Okay, great.
I will say you were
I'm literally.
Rama, congratulations. You are the vice
So, Rama, you may come down and come take your spot. All right, so now we're going to have elections for Budget and Finance Committee Chair. So, are there any nominations for Budget and Finance?
I nominate Senator Alessandra Zona for Budget and Finance Chair.
Any other nominations? All right, we'll move forward with the election. So, you may get your speech now, Alessandra, 1 minute on the call show.
Okay, so I just want to say welcome to the old and new senators. My name is Alessandra, for all of you that don't know me. I started as a freshman as a senator, and this is my second year budget and finance chair, and I'm running again as budget and finance chair. So one thing that I've learned as being the chair is that you need to have experience. You don't learn the role overnight, and with all the experience that I have, I know I can do a great job directing the budget and finance committee, allocating the student activity, and making students comfortable with senators, with the process and the procedures behind the budget request presentations and the annual budget at the end of the year. So, that's all.
Well, just for the sake of keeping the records, I'd ask that you also vote on this one, please. Everybody vote.
You don't have to keep signing it every time you refresh the page, or is that just me? That's fine.
You got
Yeah, it's up in the top right corner there. It's a little small, but 23602. Code.
23602.
It says it at the top right of it.
Let Anthony know if you have any problems.
Former speaker.
Has anybody not voted? Okay. Alessandra with 89%, you are voted.
All right, so we're going to move on to our SEOC chair.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. So we're going to move on to our SEOC chair election. So are there any nominations for SEOC chair? Yeah, so SEOC chair is the Student Events and Organizations Council. They are in charge of basically helping the clubs with their budget requests, approving them, hopefully not denying them, helping them along the process of running a club and what it takes. And this is Cush's position this year. So now I'll take nominations for the position.
I'd like to nominate Senator Laura.
Accept my nomination.
Any other nominees? All right, we'll move forward. So we're going to now hear Laura Goggins' nomination speech for SCSC chair. Okay, go ahead.
So good afternoon, USG. Welcome to all the new senators. I'm so excited to work with you all this year. I am a returning senator. I joined my freshman year, and I served on the SCSC committee. And through that process, I feel like I've learned a lot about what needs to be improved and how we can do a better job as a Senate, working with our clubs. As we've seen, we talked about the space use contract and the community norms, and we started that amazing dialogue with these clubs and centers, and I want to keep that momentum going. I think it is incredibly important that as us as senators, student leaders, that we keep in contact with these clubs, and we keep that dialogue going, because they help put on programs and help make our community a better place, and we want to make sure that we can assist them in any way possible. I believe that it's their events that help bring life to this campus, and I really want to make sure that we highlight that. On the page in front of you, you'll see what more in-depth of the plans that I intend on taking as if elected as chair. But I just wanted to I just wanted to end with this. SCSC plays a vital role in communications between student organizations and USG, and I want to help make those communications smoother and more efficient. Thank you, USG, for your time today, and please elect me, Laura Goggin, as your SCSC chair.
Gotta do this 2 more times, this time and 1 more time. Anybody not voting yes? You're going to be surprised by the results, but Laura, congratulations. I said Alice is going to have some females on it.
Yes, that should be.
I can't.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our last position that needs to be elected today, and that is Campus and Community Affairs Committee Chair. This is my position for the past year. Basically, it's the position for outreach to the community, for pulling the students to see what they want, giving them what they want, hearing from them what they want us to do. It's all about communication and making the best of anything that USG does, kind of communicating that with the student body. So I'll take nominations now for anyone who wants to run for the state. And I'll name myself.
O-D-I-A-G-A.
I also nominate myself.
F-A-K-H-A.
Any other nominations? All right, so now we'll move forward. So if the candidates will come down to the front of the room, please, and you'll each have a minute, like the other positions, to tell us about why you think you make the best SCA chair.
Hi guys, my name is Leah. I would love to be the CCA chair. When I learned about the community, CCA was the one I wanted to be on right away because I love talking to other people. You know, our job is to serve the community of UMass Boston, and I love going out and talking to the community of UMass Boston and talking to the administration to really make sure that we're actually serving our constituents, which is the student body here. I've done a lot of outreach work in the past. I've worked with a couple of grassroots organizations and as kind of the constituent liaison for different people at the State House and so forth, so I've definitely got experience doing this. And I really want to keep using those skills that I've picked up over the last to serve my school. I love this school and I love all of you, and I really want to be that person that leads us into being the best advocates we can be for our constituents. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Fareen Khan, and I'm a student actually which committee that I wanted to be on, so I did not expect to be standing here right now. But I can promise you that I will work as hard as I can to ensure that we fulfill the responsibilities of the community. And I do feel like the lack of communication on campus is like a big thing. I've seen that coming in and being in so many clubs, and seeing the lack of communication between clubs. I really want to work to really make that stronger. I also think that the ex-officio representative that the previous committee, what Michelle worked on, was really cool, and I really want to bring that forward and
All right, so if you wouldn't mind, this is your last time voting, folks, for one of these two candidates.
I'm not buying this bird.
Anybody not voting yet?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. Now? All set? I'm sorry?
Jack.
Okay, all right. Okay, Fareen, congratulations. You're
please come down and sit if you'd like to. So now we're going to move into open forum. So this is just a time for anyone to where you are allowed to kind of say whatever you would like to say in front of everybody here. So I have a feeling we're going to start with Chief Justice Lane.
I am resigning as Chief Justice of USG.
Alright, President Trump, well, actually, former President Trump.
Yeah, it's still President. I've been a Connor since freshman year, and that's defined as Connor getting extra. I just want to say congratulations to the all-female minus Alex steering. So I think that is a very, that's a good thing. Sorry, Alex. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that is still in here, that is old Senate, to the new Senate. Best of luck to you. It's a lot of work, so don't underestimate what the power of the undergraduate student government will do. Don't tell people that you're just a senator from USG. You are a senator of the undergraduate student government. Use your voice. You're an advocate for students. I've done this for 3 years. It's been the best experience. It's the reason why I love my university. I'm very proud of Sam and Alex for what they will do and continue the work that Sam and I and Sarah and I have done for the past few years. But again, get ready to work. If this isn't something that you can just do and kind of fly by the seat of your pants steering, get ready to work. You have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work cut out for you. Continue to work with clubs and centers. Continue to outreach to the student body, and you have your work cut out for you. Thank you, everybody.
Really good things have happened, a lot of really good news, but kind of reel it back in there a little bit. For all the old senators that want jackets.
It'll be here on Tuesday.
Like 4 months ago you wanted jackets? Yeah, that's kind of Tuesday. They held off on printing some of it because they didn't have a single size, and they threw off everything. They also ghosted us repeatedly on everything. So we're not working with them. But that's the remember. Yeah,
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'll be in communication with all of you as soon as they come in. I can help like organize how to get them to you, but they should all be in by Tuesday. But they also told us they care about it.
I wanted to come down so I could look at everybody. And not see the backs of your heads because your faces are so beautiful. Even those who are leaving. First, to those who are leaving, let me just say, earlier this week, I said to some of my colleagues, well, you know, we get this far in the year, and we've had such a great year. We get this far, and it all goes to hell in a handbasket. There hasn't been a year that I would say that about this time this, in the academic year. And I felt it coming. I felt it coming this week. And I have to say to our current leadership, to our outgoing leadership, you have gone above and beyond impressing me, impressing the chancellor, impressing my colleagues with your leadership. This is such a diverse community, and you've shown us how to work through issues. And there have been many that have come your way throughout the year and could have been fairly explosive this week. But you worked at it. You came together face to face, and I am so proud to get to work with you. So thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done, not just this week, but all year long. You have been amazing. And let me just tell our new people, I'm so glad you're in these seats. I'm so excited to the future. We have so much work to do, and I hope we'll do it together. All of us together, in the best interest of the student experience here at UMass Boston. So anything I can do for you, my job is to serve you. I think Shelby's trying to serve you, probably getting food ready. John, your dean of students up here, we're all here to serve, okay? So take advantage of that. But you are the leaders, and so you have to take the leadership. You got to take the reins and go for it, just like this group. I want to come back here next year and say you outdid the group before you, and that's going to be tough, but I know you can do it. Anything we can do to help you, please let me know. Thank you.
My current committee, next Wednesday, we build at 3 p.m. Just going to do a little end of the year wrap up. And then again, just to everyone that was inaugurated, congratulations. I know you guys will do a lot of great work. The next year's going to be really fun. It's going to be a lot of work we have to get done, but I know we can all do it together. So I just want to say congratulations, and I look forward to the next year.
Hi, everybody. I know we're all looking forward to getting some of that food at the retreat, the after thing, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. The past 3 years, I've been a member of the student government. I first entered as a member of CCA, then I became a member of the SCOC, and then most recently I became the vice speaker, and then I was also honored last year to be the senator of the year. And it was a very humbling experience, and I'm glad that people have thought that I was worthy of that distinction. I'm also just grateful to have been able to have been part of this as well, and I want to congratulate all of you new senators and to those leaving for being a part of this group. And what you do is really important to the university, all of you here and to all of you elected as new members of steering, congratulations. All the senators, congratulations, and to everyone who's graduating this year, best of luck in the future.
The student trustee gets all of them. We can just do senator of the year since we went out of order.
Yeah, I was starting.
Whoops.
All right.
We back?
Yeah, we're back.
That was perfect, but. Good thing?
Yeah.
So Senator of the Year is an award that members of USG submit and steering votes on. This senator has probably done, I would say, the most, if not close second, to the work this year. They have done very good things and are continuing to make change up until the last possible moment of their term.
Yeah, I would go ahead and use this person as an example of someone who has been involved on campus in other capacities, who's been able to come in and step into USG, even if it was in their final year. And they were able to step in and really become a part of what we're working on and progress and move our organization forward and kind of lead it better than when they found it.
Be somebody that you should all aspire to be and pick goals and projects that you should work towards, again, up until the last very moment. So the Senator of the Year is Senator Jeff Sessions.
Does any new senator want to, oh wait, never mind, just kidding. Oh my gosh, guys, keep it short. I'm hungry.
Just really quick, first of all, it has been an honor representing all of you guys to the Board of Trustees. I'm not done this yet. I go until June 31st. After that, Fish, you can take care of it. But I just wanted to give advice to all the new senators. That's something that I got this advice from the student who's before me, River Puffy, some of you know him. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done on this campus, right? Whenever you are lost, whenever you feel like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I'm doing here, you should think about why you started in the first place and what issues you think the student body is facing and start working on those. And the advice that I got from him was always be the most informed person in the room. Get your answers. If you ever feel lost that, oh, I want to work on this issue, I don't know how to get started, I don't know how to get this issue resolved, get your answers right away. You have the duty to represent about 11 to 12,000 students. There's so much work that needs to be done. There's so much that you guys can do. So get started on it.
Do you want tissue?
No, I'm all set.
President Machado and Trustee Twick on all the amazing work they've done the past few years.